this decision that we're actually going to build a completely new software and kind of forgetting everything that we had been building by that and invested millions and millions of euros in building that. So that was a really huge decision to make and really risky decision to make, because if that wouldn't have worked, we would have basically risked the entire existence of the company.
Welcome to Building Agentic Experiences, the podcast for founders and product leaders moving from AI features to agents. I'm Tapio Haaja, CTO of Intentface, and with me is my co-host Joni Juup,
Hello.
founder and CDO of Intentface. Every episode we unpack what's working, what's not, and what's next. Our guest today is Henri Nordström, Chief Product Officer at Jobilla. Jobilla is one of Finland's better-known recruitment SaaS stories. Top 15 on Talouselämä's growth list in 2023, then a couple of rough years in a tight market. Here's why we wanted Henri on right now. Last autumn, they shipped their AI recruiter. By year-end, 42 customers, end of January, 67, by late February, were 160, and now in late April, 360. That's a huge monthly growth. And Henri says also that 75% of their code is now written by AI agents. We want to unpack what actually changed. How does a recruitment SaaS with a hard couple of years behind it turn it into an AI-first product company in 6 months? Welcome, Henri.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did I forget to say something?
No, I think that was pretty much the whole story. So
we're done. Thank you.
Podcast was there. Yeah. Okay, but I go straight to hot topic. So take us back to 2023. Jobilla was on Talouselämä's top growth 15 list. Then the market got tight. What actually broke in the old model?
Actually, the market started getting tighter already a little bit before that. I can, if I check the February 2022 when the Ukraine war started, so immediately you could sense the atmosphere changing in the market. Like, it didn't start reflecting in our numbers immediately, but we could like immediately see that, hey, something is happening here. And I actually remember that on the summer 2022, I had a management meeting, and in this management meeting I said that it seems when I'm chatting with the investors from Silicon Valley and all of those kind of big names, that when I look at the atmosphere, it feels like this might become a very, very tough and long recession. And it's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Let's jump for a while to your personal, like what was your personal aha moment for AI that it will actually come and will be useful?
Actually, if we look at AI, our AI story starts from 2017. We did our first AI research project with Business Finland 2017 to like see how we could automate some of our like core flows. Didn't lead anything to any kind of product development, but that was kind of the spark of like there could be something in it. And actually we also did two times we applied for EU funding for developing our own AIs, like 2019 and 2020. Also didn't lead anywhere. But then the big aha moment was actually also 2022 when I first got GPT-2 to my hands, and I was testing it. I was like, wow, this is really the technology we have been waiting for. Like for me, that was like a clear moment that now something revolutionizing has happened, and it is kind of the technology that we had been waiting for many years.
Okay, so you were really early there already.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to build the AI recruiter? Was it rebuilt on top of existing Jobilla, or something you developed more or less a standalone?
Actually, if I look at our kind of old product vision papers from 2018, 2019, those years, we had kind of the AI recruiter already pictured in our. So we actually never, if I look at the history of Jobilla, we never planned to build a tech-enabled service business that we eventually built. We wanted to build a tool which would automatically just match businesses and people together. That was the vision. And then we realized that what we basically, our service has been building targeted meta advertising to kind of reach the right people, the right companies. And why Meta? Because Meta is the largest talent pool in the world. There is 4 billion people actively using Meta. There is no other channel in the world where you can reach the talent as effectively. But then when we started building it, we realized that there was a lot of things that were really complex, that required a lot of customization. If you want to do really Meta ads really properly, it requires custom branding. You need to design all the text, all the pictures, everything exactly to the position, to the company. And this back then when we launched the company so basically 2016 was the year where we really started developing with Meta, and 2018 was kind of our breakthrough year where we discovered our service called digital headhunting, where we basically had planned the entire process of how to reach people from Meta, how to convert them, how to create the candidate experience so that it's very smooth. But we actually also realized back then that this requires a lot of service. So we need to build service in order to enable this great outcome. If we just give the tool to the customers don't know how to use it and how to build effective advertising, and then eventually not getting the results.
What sort of teams and companies usually have benefited most from Jobilla tooling?
Yeah, so we are especially focused on the kind of operational roles, so blue-collar type of positions like mechanics, welders, or then other operational roles like salespeople or nurses, like these type of hands-on people. If you look at the workforce, we very often think about the people you find from LinkedIn. Like that's the kind of first thing you always think about, like developers or CEOs or positions like that. But if we look at the kind of big mass of the recruitment market or job industry, it's those positions like that are probably not where kind of what all the startups go after when they start thinking about I will launch a recruitment startup.
Can you walk us through AI Recruiter? So what kind of agentic or AI capabilities it has?
So if we think about the background of the AI Recruiter, so basically what we did was that we enabled the vision to become reality. So we shifted from being basically a tech-enabled service business to what I call now SaaS, real SaaS company. So we are basically building service as a software company. So our software is delivering exactly the same value as we used to deliver with quite expensive consultancy service. And this tool basically it uses different LLM models to automate different work like phases of the workflow. So this is how basically the AI Recruiter started, is that we thought about all the different workflows that we have in order to create these highly converting meta campaigns. We have quite a good experience from that. We have delivered over 40,000 recruitment campaigns to our customers, which we have done by hand. So we had a lot of data. We knew what worked, what didn't work. We knew what works in Germany. We know what works in Netherlands. We know what works in Finland. And so we could use this data in order to kind of duplicate the best practices. And this is what I love about also the agentic models, is that once you build a good prompting behind it and you build a model, you don't model your worst like approach, but you can basically model your best practices. And this is always, as you know, if you train a team, it's not easy to get a new person onboarded and immediately teach them the best practices. Like even though you would explain, can you actually make them follow each and every day always the best practices? But this is what you can do with agents. So you map the best practices and it follows those best practices always deliberately if you don't change something in the prompting.
Yeah. So now you have basically over 360 clients using this in production. What's been the feedback and what's been maybe the most surprising thing you have learned?
Feedback has been really amazing. Customers really love it. We had a lot of doubt also when we started building this product. And one of the big doubts from basically almost everybody was that, are the customers really willing to use it? Are they actually willing to do don't they like actually want it to be built for them as a service? Like, are they ready to use an AI agent or something? But this is what I think has been probably the coolest moments in this journey is like when the user feels really empowered. Like we have a couple of those users which, for example, I have this one example of a customer who had built one meta campaign before starting with us. She was a trainee in the company, and her manager had told her that now we would like you to start doing some meta visibility for us to our recruitment. And so she had built one campaign, and it had been quite a painful journey to get it launched and all of that. And then she got our AI recruiter and could launch her first campaign in a couple of minutes. And after that, she has launched, I think probably, I would say this has been now live for a couple of months. She has launched maybe 60, 70 meta campaigns by herself. And also she had given this comment that this AI recruiter has actually made her better in her work. So she could have never delivered such a value. And so and this is actually a cool thing also, what I also feel when I use AI tools. I don't have this feeling that I ordered this as a service from somebody else, but I have this feeling I built this myself. I did it myself, even though there would be an AI agent behind it. But you gave it the prompt, you tweaked it, you launched it. So it feels like I did it, even though actually AI model did most of the work. But it's a very different experience that compared to that you send an email to a consultant and you ask like, hey, could you do this for me? So then you don't feel that you did it yourself. But when you do it with the agent, the feeling is very different. And I think this is one of the coolest things in building this tool.
I think it's quite interesting. We've been working together for a while now, but seeing the sort of like scale of how people are using these tools, like some just take what the agent produces and are really happy with the end result, but some want to tweak it and adjust it to sort of find that balance. Do you think it's like, do you think we are going towards like a more autonomous way of producing these, or is there always going to be this like, I want to make some changes to own it?
Yeah, and I think it's actually something that I think the best results you get when you actually kind of also put a little bit of your own love to the process and tweak it, because the output is only as good as the input you give to the tool. So this is always something that I've been like saying this over and over in our also when we develop the tool, that we need to always think about the easiness of putting input in and the quality of the output that comes out. And that's kind of you always have to put kind of this it's a little bit of the battle between these two. So the better quality and more like input you put to the machine, the better output you get. But it's always away from the user experience if you demand more of the input. And this is where I think the kind of iteration process is really good because you can start with giving a little bit less input. You can already see the value of the output, and then you start seeing kind of what input I would have needed to give in order to get the best result. The AI can do perfect end result with one try if the input is perfect. But it's very rare situation where actually the input would be perfect. So that's why you need this loop. And I also think that us humans, we don't necessarily know what is the best input until we see some output. So it's kind of you put some input in, you see some output, you start seeing like, hey, I would actually need to tweak what I prompted. And then
it's kind of a back and forth
iteration process. And this is something that I also notice in my own workflows, because like nowadays I use quite a lot of Claude myself. And when I do anything with it, it's exactly the same process that I feel that I don't know exactly what I want in the beginning. I start prompting something, I see something, I get more ideas, and then the kind of loop goes on.
AI recruiter sounds like a big success story, but I guess there might have been some painful moments, some learnings,
yes,
and maybe some assumptions you had in the beginning didn't work out. I guess. Can you share some learnings?
It's always like when you tell these stories and you only give the kind of big picture, everything always sounds like this was just like a smooth ride and we just planned this AI tool and then we implemented it and then the rest was history. But yeah, in reality, from 2022, when we kind of got the first feeling that, hey, we could actually start building something like this, it took, 1.5, 2 years to actually get even the first working prototypes. And we had a lot of doubt in the organization and also, of course, myself and the investors and the board and everybody like, is this actually possible, what we are doing? And are we actually going to get the AI to create the same value that the humans can create, or is it just going to be maybe an internal tooling or something that we will build to make the process a little bit more effective and things like this? And then when we eventually kind of started to see that our internal prototypes are actually creating very good value, then the cooperation with you guys started. So thanks for that. Intentface has been a big player in making this happen. And then when we created kind of the first commercially first prototype to be kind of able to be tested commercially with the customers, that was the kind of big moment when we realized like, hey, this is actually possible that we could make this a complete product. But even from that, it was a huge many months battle of thinking, are we actually going to be building a completely new product, or are we going to kind of try to implement this into our existing product? Because we had been basically putting already almost like 9 years on building this old SaaS tool that we had, software as a service product, not service as a software product. But this decision that we're actually going to build a completely new software and kind of forgetting everything that we had been building by that and invested millions and millions of euros in building that. So that was a really huge decision to make and really risky decision to make, because if that wouldn't have worked, we would have basically risked the entire existence of the company. And also doing this in the market situation where we at the same time faced the most difficult market conditions that we had been facing during the history of the company. So almost all the parameters on the kind of macro environment was turning against us. And this required a lot of also new investments so that we would invest into the future at the same time where we were struggling to even stay alive.
And when you got this belief that AI is the way, was it hard to get the company behind this idea?
Yeah, I think it was kind of, it happened in stages. So it was not like so that one day the entire company was behind the idea. It was more like an incremental journey that we started first creating this internal tooling that made our processes better. We communicated the vision very openly that one day we will create a completely automated process, but it was more communicated in a way that this is the long-term vision. One day we will reach there, but there is a lot of steps in between, as it was in reality. So in reality, it started as an internal tooling, and then we started basically taking it more and more towards launching it as a commercial product. And then, but yeah, everything took longer than we expected. Everything cost more money than we expected. The market conditions were tougher than we expected, and everything was kind of, and every time you are kind of not reaching your deadlines, not hitting your targets, all of this, every time there is doubt that is this actually going to happen? Is this gonna be a complete failure? And the doubt is external and doubt is internal. So there was, of course, also a lot of internal doubt in myself. Like, is this a too big bet? Are we gonna pull this off, or is this gonna be just like complete disaster?
I think it's interesting you said before we started recording is that you basically had this kind of like vision like long before these AI models came along, but when you tried to sort of fulfill that original vision, you just always hit the wall that the technology was not there.
Yes.
But I think now the sort of timing was right, because when we started like with the internal tool, then the image models, language models, everything sort of converged in that model that you were able to sort of, or we were able to pull it off. But it's a big timing issue as well, I think.
Yes. And I think this is like, this is one of those things that when you look, like, it's always easier to see kind of when you look now to the past and you look like things that happened, everything feels like everything happened exactly in the way as it should be happening. It doesn't feel this way when it's happening and when you're facing all of those challenges but if I think about all of those things that happened simultaneously, all of those models came out, made it possible. The market conditions changed to very bad. I think we wouldn't have made this big of a shift if the existing business would have been doing like you said, Tapio, that we were basically among the top 15 Finnish growth companies, how fast we grew. And if we would have been able to continue this growth, we wouldn't have had any need or yes, maybe need, but they kind of, there is this saying in Finnish that pakko on paras motivaattori, like how would you change, but it's kind of the best motivation if you have to do something we kind of faced the situation that when I tried to vision Jobilla as a company, what are we gonna be in 3 years or what are we gonna be in 5 years or something like that. And when I looked at the market conditions and I was thinking, if the market conditions are not gonna change for better, as they haven't, I couldn't see us existing anymore if we wouldn't have done some dramatic change like this. Like the market conditions were so different as they were 2021 that I couldn't see that we could, just by tweaking our existing models, how we could basically create a sustainable business anymore. So we basically hit the kind of wall that we need to do this change. Yeah. And then at the same time, these large language models, they were like you said, the image models, the text models, they all at the same time, first of all, they came out, and then second of all, they became better and better, and really quickly they became better. And so for us, kind of these two things linking, that we saw the technology that would be able to fulfill our vision, and then the pressure to do the change, where they both needed kind of ingredients for this. Yeah. Because I have seen a lot of companies which I think could also have the potential to change, but they don't have such an urge. They are not.
I was just thinking like you were like forced to do the AI transformation, and many other SaaS companies are just starting to do this. And if some founders or product leaders are now listening, do you have any tips like how to do this AI transformation?
I think everything starts first from the vision. I think this is I think what separates us from many other companies is that many other companies have now, like they see these technologies and they start thinking like, hey, what could I do with these technologies? For us, it was the other way around. We had the use case already in our heads for many, many years. We were thinking like, okay, this is what if we would have the tools to automate, this is what we would automate. Then we ended up basically just thinking about how to execute this. But I think if you don't have kind of strong vision of what would be actually a value creating workflow to automate, that's the most important thing. You can build a really cool automation automating something that is not creating a lot of customer value. And then it probably, it doesn't justify the investments you need to do. It doesn't justify the work you need to do in order to do that. So I think you should start from really thinking about, but I think it's not that difficult. It's just like going into the business and looking like what is the most value creating activities we do, where the customer benefits the most. And then starting from there, okay, these activities create the most value. How could this be built and then thinking about these workflows, like as we think about like, okay, this is how a human being would do it. Okay, this requires first, like for in our case, you need to build ad copies, you need to build text, you need to build photos, you need to build landing pages, you need to build these tests, what we do in seeing how well people fit the positions. Okay, these are the different steps of the workflows. And then you just break it down and think about, not trying to kind of think about how to make a model that builds them all, but kind of break it into pieces and how could we make a model that creates this part very well, and how could we build a model that creates this part, and then chain them together, and suddenly you have a full workflow. Yeah.
You have also said that 75% of Jobilla's code is AI written nowadays. So it seems that you have become like AI native company.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Was it easy?
This is also something that I would say again, that this is this kind of incremental change. It's not something that happens overnight. Actually, if I look at still at the end of last year, we had these people in our company that were, for example, criticizing a lot of the quality of the AI written code. And probably a lot of this criticism was also valid because the AI models like quality of basically output that comes out of those models is getting a lot better and better all the time. So and also like I say now this 75%, okay, it's an estimation. Of course, I cannot give an exact a number of what it is, but this is also like it depends on the developers, their own view of if they start creating something with AI, is the output that the AI can deliver, is it meeting our standards? And then if it's not meeting our standards, then you need to also do something manually. And this is actually something that I would be a little bit worried if some company would say already now that 100% of their code is written by AI, because I'm not the developer myself, but what I've discussed with our developers is that there is still many things when your AI agent is not solving the problem correctly or is not writing the perfect output. And if the human being is not entering at all to the loop when this is happening, I think this could also be a little bit of kind of risk to mitigate this. Like if because we could jump into the kind of 100% today. We could just inform like stop writing code at all. But I think we could end up in a lot of trouble if we would do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it seems like the transformation has been like all the way through the organization.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. And we are implementing different AI agents everywhere. Like our sales team is using their own agents, and then we have the kind of we have this and this is actually also a quote that I've been saying. I think it was probably 2018, 2019 when I first like launched. This is my favorite quote, but it's from Matrix. Agent Smith says that never send a human to do a machine's job. And that's one of my kind of favorite things. I think it has also the other aspect to look at it, that what is machine's job? That is something that should be kind of defined. And I think this is something that us humans, we should really start thinking about it. Because if we think about this, it doesn't say never send a human to do any job. It says never send a human to do a machine's job. So we should very much like define what is machine's job and what is human's job. This is exactly what we discussed with our lead of engineering today. Exactly about this, that for example, what is really important nowadays when you're coding with AI is that you really deeply understand the technical architecture of the product. And the people who really understand and can design the technical architecture of the product are really valuable people still in the organization. So even though they would write the code with AI, but so that they understand what kind of architecture they are expecting the AI agent to deliver is a really valuable skill. So this is human's job. At least now it is human's job. So then, and probably it's gonna be still for a long time human's job. So then we should think about like, okay, if this is human's job, human needs to define the technical architecture, or human needs to define the product vision. And I think product vision is very often thought about just like the big picture vision. But I love the way, for example, how I've read that Steve Jobs worked, that for him, vision was also the small design details of the product. So it was not just that he had the idea that we would build some cool phone thingy and left the kind of product team to plan, or engineers to plan, but he had kind of very detailed picture of what iPhone should look like, how it should feel like when the user uses it. And I think this is also what I think it's very important of when leading this technical teams in an AI era is having really good vision what the good looks like. Yeah.
And as AI progressing super fast, and even for us, I think it's from time to time hard to keep up.
Nothing major has happened in the last 2 hours, I think. So
maybe who knows?
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah. And in another episode, Vine's co-founder Mikko Honkanen said that every founder and leader should be like really hands-on now with AI to keep on top of things. And you used to be CEO of Jobilla, and now you are CPO.
Yes.
Do you want to explain why?
Actually, this is exactly the reason. I think what you said from the previous discussions with Vine. I think this is exactly what I went through. So if I think about last year, 2025, it was really transformative year for us as a company. At the same time, market conditions were getting again worse as they were 2024 in the recruitment market. Unemployment's reached again the highest levels and all of that. So the kind of existing tech-enabled service business was struggling even more than it was struggling in the previous year. And then we were managing this AI transformation. So I felt that inside the company, we had two very separate problems to be focused on, where one was creating this foundations for our future success, and the other was fixing the daily challenges what we had in the business to be able to kind of navigate the quarter and getting into as good quarterly result as possible. And I felt that like I had kind of during the first half of last year, I had this feeling that I would need to be, if I would look at objectively what would be most valuable for the company from the long run, would be putting all the effort into this AI transformation. But then I looked at my calendar and where I did spend my daily activities, and 80% of the activities were actually related to the existing business. Because we have the business in multiple countries, I need to be traveling a lot to different locations and fixing a lot of different issues in the business. And then I started this conversation that I think, and I actually phrased it this way, that I kind of mapped that if I would be able to focus on the AI, I think that I would be able to actually create the foundation for our future success. Or be, of course, it's not just me, but I think I have the vision how to do it. But if I'm not able to invest time in it, I think at least I cannot materialize. So I cannot help materializing the vision. So there is a huge risk that this whole AI bet is gonna fail. And thanks to our chairman of the board, Matti Vikkula, this is now his 9th CEO position. He's been, for example, the CEO of Saunalahti when it was sold to Elisa, and huge success stories that he has been doing. So he had not been planning to take the 9th CEO position, to be honest. It was not the kind of one conversation and going, but he really bought the vision that what we are doing, and he also saw that what he could deliver for the company as a CEO, and so first of all free my time, but also I think actually Matti is much better in many of the CEO things that I am. Like much better. So I think this is a very, very good combination. So if I think about that companies, they need this kind of visionary leadership, and then they need this daily operational leadership and this kind of strategic daily leadership. And I feel that I can do both, but naturally, if you listen to this conversation, probably it's pretty clear where I'm
you
at
want to
my
be more
best.
Steve Jobs than Tim Cook.
Exactly, exactly. I've been actually using this exactly same metaphor myself to be. And if you look at Apple, now in the Tim Cook's era, he did a lot of great things. But if you think about, for example, the fact that now Siri is powered by Gemini in Apple phones, so buying like from your worst competitors, Google, your AI capabilities. So Apple could have used maybe a visionary leader also in the AI era.
What is the future looking like? Like what is the sort of things that you see that the Jobilla or AI will start to optimize in the candidate market?
Yeah, that's actually something that I've been like a good question, and something that I've been thinking a lot. Actually, already for many years, I've been thinking like what the future will look like when everything will be automated. Like this has been very clear for me that the day will come where all of the repeating processes will be automated. Like these kind of technologies will emerge. Okay, now it's probably happening even faster than I could imagine, but I think, especially if you think about recruiting, there is, and okay, many other things also, but recruitment is my kind of special case. So there is so many different kind of repeating tasks. Like if we think about this quote from Matrix, like never send a human to do a machine's job. Like there is so many things that machines could do and should do. So that if I think about recruiting should be, and actually this is actually how kind of what got me into this journey, was that this is what I actually also thought when I was this naive, like 20-something-year-old entrepreneur running my previous company and hiring people. And when I started my first recruitments, I thought that I will just post a job ad somewhere, I will get just good candidates, and my work is to be kind of like a psychologist who just analyzes these like really amazing people that want to work in my company, and my job is just to pick the best one of those amazing people. And then I found out that it's completely the opposite. Like I get almost nobody applying for my company. Or if I get somebody applying for my company, they are not maybe the right fit for the position. Their CV is not matching for what I'm looking for. And then I might get a huge pile of people still in some positions, and I need to just manually go through and try to figure out like who I'm even willing to interview or not. And then if I don't find from this pile of candidates, then I need to go somewhere and try to find them from the world. The world is your oyster, but like pick your method, call somebody, call to the competing company or whatever. But that's kind of, the reality was completely different what I was imagining, like how recruiting would be working. And the time is going to completely wrong things. Like I think eventually recruiting should be like this naive 20-something-year-old Henry was thinking. Like somebody will magically just take you 3 to 5 amazing people, and your job as a kind of, I think this is the human's job of recruiting. Like human's job should be being this kind of expert of your team and trying to understand like which one of these 5 people is the best match for me. And I think everything else should be automated.
Yeah.
Okay, there is risks. There is, for example, EU AI Act now, which very clearly states that AI cannot make any decisions on behalf of recruiting or in recruiting decisions. So it also basically means that nobody can get kind of rejected from a recruitment by an AI agent. And I think this is also a really good thing because it would have a lot of risks if these decisions would be made by AI. So there is a huge risk that, for example, some people would never get a chance in positions because the AIs would just automatically kind of ditch them away from the process and create this kind of patterns. But I think what AI is really good at is creating this kind of tooling to help the human to make the right decision and making the decisions a lot faster. Like if we take an example, like easy example, we are hiring a doctor, for example. So first thing we should screen is, do these people have doctor's degree or not? If you don't have a doctor's degree, we even have a word for that. You're a fake doctor, so you're not the real doctor. So you need to have this degree. So it doesn't make sense for the recruiter to spend any minute of time to people who doesn't have a doctor's degree. So the first thing we should automate is show from the pipeline, if you have 30 candidates, how many of these 30 candidates actually have a doctor's degree? And then, okay, step by step like this. But helping kind of, and I think exactly we should automate those objective things that we can, like in recruiting, there's a lot of those objective things like education, licenses, things like that are just needed. And like we discussed our target groups, like blue collar works. Like there is a lot of these positions where you need to have some sort of certificate, or you need to have some sort of license, or you're not allowed to work in this space. So it doesn't make sense for a human being to go through 50 candidates manually and check which one of these have this license and which one of these don't have this license.
Yeah, trying to understand the CV, and everybody's posting different kind of CVs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, final 2 questions. A little bit back to personal use and inspiration. So outside of work, where you personally use AI right now?
That has been actually also a growing trend in my life. I actually was not kind of heavy user of AI immediately. When for example, the GPT models came out, we were looking at them intensively in work, but I was not so much like in my daily life. I couldn't find a lot of kind of practical use cases for it, just like sometimes maybe ask a question or something. But I've noticed that it has also been kind of an incremental thing that nowadays I just notice using more and more. My wife is also like, she's almost annoyed to me right now when she's like, you could sometimes think yourself, like not always as the AI model, but it's like, I think it's amazing. Like when, for example, when I'm cooking something and I don't like necessarily have any idea in my mind what to cook. Like you can just take picture of your fridge, like what should I do? And the AI models give you like a perfect recipe. Like, okay, hey, it seems like you have pasta, and it seems like you have chicken, and it seems like you have to make this recipe, and it's fantastic. Like, because who of us don't hate the situation where you're opening your fridge and you notice like, hey, I have nothing to eat and I have no ideas in my head what to do.
And I think that's especially when you're doing knowledge work. So you've spent your entire day doing decisions.
Yes.
And then you get home and you need to make these micro decisions and you're like, I can't. I don't have any decisions left in me. And then you can, externalize some of those dangerous decisions to somebody else or some entity. It's quite nice.
Yeah, and one example I need to actually tell about this is like one of the coolest personal use cases was when I was doing my tax application. And I had bought at some point some cryptocurrencies, and not like just with like a couple of thousands of euros. I wasn't very kind of even interested about cryptos, but I was thinking like, let's give it a try and buy a little bit of them. And then I decided to sell them last year. Like, I sell them. And then I was like, oh, holy shit, I need to do my tax application. And it was like a very detailed, like when I have bought all of that. And I was like, this is going to take hours and hours and hours for me to do. And I was like, hey, if I just take this as an Excel sheet, I got the Excel out, I give it to Claude, I took screenshot of the tax page, what I needed to fill there. Okay, I could have actually put Claude to fill the tax application. Now I've learned that, okay, I could have done that. But back then I was still just kind of practicing some of the things. But yeah, it took me, 15, 20 minutes, done. Like really, really amazing what kind of problems.
Yeah. I think there are some people who are looking at the crypto going up, and they're like, I need to sell this, but the tax thing, I'm not going to do it. It's too much work.
Yeah, exactly.
But now it's possible.
Yeah, it's possible, yeah.
Final question. What's inspiring you in AI right now, and who are you following or listening? Or do you recommend someone?
I think actually in AI, the entire ecosystem is inspiring me a lot. Like I'm actually, okay, the reason why I sold my cryptos is that I'm a lot into AI stocks right now. So I have been putting basically all in, almost everything that I have in my personal savings is now in the AI stocks and AI stock market, and I'm really into understanding the entire ecosystem of what is happening, how this is built. And I have to say I'm really inspired by the entire chain of ecosystem what is built in this AI. This is one of the biggest kind of build-ups in the human history, what is needed to, and the more you start digging into it, like what is needed in the value chain, all of those data centers and all of the chip makers and all of the machines behind it and all of that is like, and the amount of kind of people's creativity and brain power to it, it's really, really cool.
Okay, did we forget to discuss some area you would like to speak about?
I think it's like maybe what we still like discussed is what is important. So having the right people, of course. Like I think that's for sure. Like even though we are building the models right now and so, but it's the people and the teams that actually enable these models and build the models and prompt the models and having the right talent for that. That's so it's actually pretty kind of, it's controversial thinking when you think about it. Now we are talking about automating everything, kind of humans are not needed in the loop anywhere. And then eventually it comes back to it's all about humans still.
Yeah. That's good ending. We should
Well
end
said.
here.
Yeah.
Well said. Thank you, Henri.
Thank you.
Thank you.